Today on the What to Watch, guys, we'll tell you about a Me Too movement biodrama, the new Sylvester Stallone series, and an indie crime thriller. All that, plus our YouTube picks of the week, and much more. So guys, when you go to the movies, do you always get popcorn, or is there some other candy or snack that's kind of your go-to theater food? Jay?
Always get popcorn, for sure. But I always got to have something sweet, too. So I'd say either Goobers or Raisinets. One or the other. That's my go-to for sweet.
Yeah, I agree with the Goobers. At home, I like to make nachos when watching, because it's something you could pick at while watching movies. Or also steamed artichokes is a fun thing to eat, dipped in lemon butter.
When I go to the theater, I usually like to hunker down with a big plate of spaghetti and meatballs, but they don't typically sell those at theaters for some reason. So
yeah, you're going to the wrong theater.
Yeah, so I usually end up getting a box of Junior Mints. I love those things. So anyway, Jay, you are doing a kind of a Me Too movement show. What's that all about?
It's a movie called She Said on Amazon Prime right now. It's a biographical drama that's based on a book that was written in 2019 by two reporters, Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohy. And the film stars Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan as Twohy and Kantor, respectively. And they are in the midst of this New York Times investigation, the one that exposed Harvey Weinstein and his history of abuse and sexual misconduct against young women mostly.
Right.
Interestingly, Ashley Judd plays herself in the film. She has a couple of small scenes because she was, affected by this sleazeball.
That's right. One of his victims.
Yeah, as was Gwyneth Paltrow, and she actually lends her voice to the film. She's not on screen, but there's scenes where the reporters are talking to her, trying to convince her to come out and tell her story, and she plays herself or uses her own voice. So there's a couple of heavy hitters who, for real, were involved, who are in the movie. The film, it really documents what the reporters went through, trying to get the story, trying to get the goods on Weinstein, and do it in a manner where they can publish it. I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's historical too. It was like you said in the beginning, Phil. It really did set up the whole Me Too movement.
Right.
So it's She Said, and it's on Amazon Prime. And leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of the movie. Andrew, you got a indie crime thriller.
Yes, I do. Emily the Criminal. It stars Aubrey Plaza, who I just love.
Me too.
She's great. It's a little indie crime thriller that Netflix picked up. Aubrey Plaza plays an aspiring actress who gets a felony on her record, and she's having a hard time paying her bills, paying off her student loan, and she's struggling for money. And she ends up getting involved with this guy and getting involved in credit card fraud. So one thing leads to another, and she starts to get involved, romantically involved with the guy. Then all of a sudden the crimes start to escalate and escalate.
Interesting.
And it comes to a head in the end. And it's really, I love the ending, but it was a great movie. I highly recommend it. It's a great little crime thriller. It's Emily the Criminal on Netflix. Check it out. I think
I will do
enjoy
that
it
for sure.
But I started watching the new series on Paramount Plus called Tulsa King.
Oh, I've been wanting to see that.
Yep, brand new. It's in its first season, stars Sylvester Stallone as Dwight Manfredi, a former New York capo for a crime family who has just been released from prison after like 25 years. He returns to find the family has kind of moved on. There's really no place for him in their New York organization. So instead, the big boss sends him down to Tulsa to sort of plant the flag for the family. And, they're figuring they're doing him some favor since there's really nothing going on, no action down in Tulsa, and he's kind of free to run his game however he wants. Dwight doesn't quite see it that way. He feels like he's kind of being banished by the family, shunted aside. But he goes down there anyway, and virtually from the moment he sets foot in Oklahoma, he starts setting up his operation. It's really quite remarkable. First, he takes a cab from the airport, as you might expect. And by the time he arrives at the hotel downtown, he's already hired the young cabbie named Tyson. He's played by Jay Will, to be his personal driver and valet. And he hands him a stack of cash and has him go buy a brand new Navigator. So, nice. and they haven't even gotten to the hotel yet when they drive by a dispensary. So Dwight decides to stop in, where he meets the young proprietor, Bodie, played by Martin Starr. Dwight proceeds to force Bodie into a quote-unquote partnership where he has to pay 20% of his cash revenues every week in protection money.
Great partnership.
So the guy's, barely in town for an hour, and he's already setting up shop and proceeding in the process of making himself, the king of Tulsa. So it's kind of one of those root for the bad guy kind of shows, kind of like very reminiscent of The Sopranos, very hard-hitting mob stuff. Stallone is his usual Stallone self. Mm-hmm. The plot is kind of unusual and very engaging, but the story is as hardball as it is. It's got a certain amount of heart and humor to it. Overall, I think you'll really like Tulsa King on Paramount Plus. So, here on the What to Watch, guys, of course, we love to tell you about all the great stuff you can find right here on YouTube. So, Jay, why don't you start us off with this week's YouTube picks of the week?
My YouTube pick is one that a lot of people may already be familiar with, but if you're not, you should definitely check it out. It's called Soft White Underbelly.
Ooh.
And it is a series of interviews by a gentleman named Mark Leta. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But what's interesting about the channel is these interviews are one-on-one, or sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 people depending on the subject, but it's just a sit-down interview. Mm-hmm. But the types of people, the reason for the name Soft White Underbelly, he interviews drug addicts, sex workers, gangbangers, bounty hunters, polygamists, and, he even interviews a family of inbreds in Appalachia, I believe. And it's just fascinating to see these interviews. So it's a huge channel, so you may be familiar with it. 4.5 million subscribers, over 900 million views. So he's approaching 1 billion views.
Nice.
But there's a reason for it. It's really fascinating, glued in. When you watch some of these interviews, I mean, some of these people are so hardened, street people and so forth. And sometimes it's amazing because they'll interview some hard-ass looking drug addict, ex-heroin addict woman prostitute, and she's got a law degree. Her life just went wrong, and it's just really, really interesting stuff. So check out Soft White Underbelly, and that's on YouTube, of course. Andrew, what do you have?
Well, one of my favorite channels is a channel called The Y-Files.
Oh, I love that channel.
Yes, The Y-Files.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's this guy, AJ, and it's a mix of science comedy and just really interesting content. He has a sidekick, which is a talking goldfish. I know that might sound a little corny, but after you watch a couple episodes, you warm up to him. His name is Hecklefish, and they actually sell a merchandise where they are pushing Hecklefish for president. Okay, now he's been doing this for a few years. He came out. That started during the pandemic. Yeah. They talk about all different things, from like time travel to parallel universes to the Vatican's secret time machine,
right?
To Area 51.
Yeah. UFOs, Bigfoot, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he talks about it. He does an incredible. He must do a lot. He must have help doing the research.
Absolutely,
because he's very well researched, and he really, really presents these theories very well. But then he comes back and kind of fully debunks them. Debunks to the point where, there might be a chance, but he takes a very realistic look at it. So you kind of see both sides of it. And it's entertaining. It's informative. The Y-Files. And it's on YouTube.
All right.
And there'll be a link below. It'll take you to their YouTube homepage.
Awesome. Well, there are 2 things that for some reason the nerd in me just loves, and they are history and maps. I don't know if you like those sorts of things, but I've always found them kind of fascinating. Well, if you're nerdy like me in that regard, you'll want to take a look at a YouTube channel called Geo History. And Geo History offers a series of videos featuring animated maps with narration that basically summarize various historical subjects. They're usually like 10 to 20 minutes long, though there's a whole playlist of shorts as well. Many of the videos they cover are basically world geopolitical history, topics like World War II, summary on a map, or India since 1900, or the history of Brazil. Really fascinating stuff. But there's also videos on a whole variety of stuff like the first circumnavigation of Earth by Magellan, or the history of football, or the 7 voyages of Zheng He. Who is Zheng He? I don't know. You'll have to watch the video. But if it's like the others I've seen, it's probably very enlightening, very entertaining. So if you just want to get a real quick and dirty history of various world topics, or if you just like animated maps, check out Geo History on YouTube. Well, folks, that is our show once again, and we're awfully glad that you stopped by. We'd love to hear from you, so definitely give us your comments down below, your thoughts, suggestions, questions, anything you've got. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out on social media, and we'll see you next time on the What to Watch Guys. Take it from the What to Watch Guys.